This video will show teachers how to use TCI for their social studies curriculum, as well as using it within Canvas. So the first thing you'll do is open up your ClassLink Launchpad. So you have your own teacher access here with Teach TCI, but we're going to mostly focus on what you can do within Canvas. So what you can do is open up a course. I'm just going to recommend that you always have that Teach TCI LTI 1.3 navigation button published in your course. So you can go to Settings, Navigation, drag the button up into the top portion here, scroll down to the bottom and click Save, and then you should see that here. That is an easy way for students and teachers to simply click here and it will bring you to TCI's website. And it is also the only way that students get there because they do not have it in ClassLink. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can make an assignment. So I'm going to just create a quick assignment here, and I'm just going to call it TCI. It actually doesn't matter what you name it. It's automatically going to rename the assignment to whatever you select in the TCI platform. And so we're going to edit our assignment here. We'll leave the directions blank. We'll leave our points at 0 for now. And then we're going to go to submission type, select external tool, click on find, and scroll down to where it says Teach TCI LTI 1.3. Then a little box will load up here, and my recommendation is to scoot that box down and use the lower right-hand corner so that you can get a little more real estate on your screen. Makes it a little bit easier to view. From there, what you can do is you can select the program that you're using. So if you teach more than one subject, you can choose the text that you need from this menu here. Select the lesson that you want to incorporate pieces from. For the type, it's going to pull up a few different items here. What we found is that the assessments, games, classroom activities, lesson outlines, video activities, really all of these things with the exception of the readings, when you select them and then you select specific pieces that you want, for example, let's do a video activity, and then it automatically selects details as the only one available as the video activity, then that will be what students experience, and that's the only thing they see on this assignment. But if I were to select reading, what you'll notice is that there are all of the different sections in lesson 2 here. So we've got lesson 2, sections 1 through 4. You can select different pieces of this, and these items here, so if I were to not include reading notes, it would not show the reading notes to students. It would only show these 2 items here. There is a way, though, for students to advance to the next section, which we'll show you when we look at it from a student's perspective at the end of this video. So select the pieces that you want to incorporate. You'll notice that the score is automatically adjusted based on the pieces that you select. And then you'll also notice that it does give you some options here. So you can hover over this and see what score gives you as far as options. I'm going to recommend that you choose to grade by assignment. And what that allows you to do then is if you want this, for example, to be worth 10 points or consistently a similar number of points, you can select that. The due date you do have to select. So whatever you're going to put in Canvas for the due date is what we recommend that you put in here as well. They do not have availability dates, however, so it's not like you can lock it after the due date. You know, for example, the due date's on the 26th, which is Friday, but I'm going to give students the weekend to finish it. They'll just have it be late, for example. You really don't have that option. You give it a due date, and then you can choose to enforce the due date or not. So if you check that box there, students cannot submit the assignment after the due date has passed. So just be aware of that. I'm going to deselect that option for now. And then you should see in the lower right-hand corner a purple Assign button. So I'm going to click on Assign and then select. And then a link should have appeared here in this box. And then I'm also going to recommend that you load this tool in a new tab every single time that you use it, because otherwise it really doesn't take up the whole screen and it's a little bit harder for students to navigate. From there, you'll want to once again align your due date with whatever you put in the platform. You can choose these availability dates, but they do not dictate what level of access students have. So if you said enforce due date in TCI, they're not going to really adhere to these available from until dates. So keep that in mind. The other thing that you'll notice is that because I manually adjusted those point values to 10, it now says 10 up here. That is my recommended option for if you want to change the point values to be a specific number. You still could change this to, let's say 5, for example. Now, in the platform, when I selected the assignment, I said that the assignment was worth 10 points. What it should do is give students a proportional amount of points based on how they do in TCI. So if they got 2 questions wrong in TCI and earned a score out of 8 out of 10, they should get 4 out of 5 in Canvas. Now we're going to save and publish this assignment. And this is what students would see when they see the assignment. Yes, it is one extra click that they have to click on this in order to see the assignment. But when they do that, it just gives them a much broader view of the assignment, and it's a little bit easier for them to navigate. They, of course, have all of these different tools. They can hear things read aloud to them. They can select text to have it translated for them. They can use a highlighter. They can save text to Google Drive, add a note. They can do all of these things as they're reading, and they can advance through these units and sections. Right now I am in the teacher view, but it's going to look very similar for a student. So let's take a look at what it looks like from a student's perspective, and then we'll come back to grading from the teacher's perspective in just a moment. All right, now I'm in as a student. I'm going to load up my assignment here. I clicked on it. It's going to sign me into TCI's platform. I have all those tools that I was just showing you. I can then scroll down and keep going through the reading. I've got the reading check here, and I'm just going to randomly select some answers. Hopefully I get some right so you can see some points. Click on submit. I got 2 right. Awesome. And then I have notes down here. Notice that I have a drop-down menu, so I can go to the next section. I can write words here, which then the teacher will have to grade. It's going to automatically save my responses as I go. There's some drawing responses that I can do in here. I've got some tools. And then it'll say if I saved down the lower left. Got some more written responses here. And then I'm going to click on yes, turn it in. Now, this is a thing to instruct students on because currently there is no way to restrict this. There's an arrow down here in the lower right-hand corner that says Section 2. And when I click on that arrow, it does advance me to the next piece. However, you'll notice that it does say you cannot view this because it has not been assigned yet. So if you haven't assigned it yet, it's going to be blank. However, if you have gone ahead and made additional assignments, this may be viewable by students. You're just going to want to make sure that you instruct students on what specifically they should be working on and try to publish and unpublish things as students are able to or should be completing them. All right, so now we're going to go back to what it looks like from a teacher's perspective and check out the speed grader. All right, I'm in here as the teacher. I'm going to click on speed grader for that assignment. I'm going to pull up my student's account here. And what it's going to do is it's going to embed everything that the student did in their submission for that specific assignment. I can see what they wrote here. You'll note that some of the questions simply were already auto-graded because they were selected response questions here. I then can look at the answer keys and score students up here using this assignment score. And then I can see every little response that they have here. I can add comments or a stamp. And then whatever score I put in here should be what comes in over here. So if I say, you know what, the student did a really great job, but they got a few points off for that selected response, this score over here eventually will sync over to Canvas and it will be awarded proportionally, which means if they got, for example, 80% over here, they should get a 4 out of 5 over here in Canvas because I made this one out of 5. If it was out of 10, that score of 8 should sync over. If you notice that those scores aren't syncing over quickly enough, you can force the sync for individual assignments. So you use over in this navigation over here, you can click on Assignments, find the assignment that you were working on, and then you can click on Actions and Sync Grades. You always have the option to enter a score into the speed grader as well. This score will not pass back to TCI, so students might notice that they have different scores in different systems. So I would recommend trying to align the point values between the two systems. So that's how to use the TCI Canvas integration.